Radical personal responsibility is the fastest way to reduce conflict. Taking radical personal responsibility in your relationship essentially means that you look at the situation that you and your spouse are in, and you ask yourself the question of what are all the things that you did wrong that led you to where you and your spouse are today. In other words, you take on as much responsibility as you reasonably can, up to the point where one of two things happens. Either you take on too much responsibility and start to develop shame. So shame is different from guilt. Guilt is a pro-social behavior, meaning that it actually helps us do good for other people and society because it motivates us to recognize when we do something wrong and then try to fix it or make up for it. Shame, on the other hand, tells you that you are wrong. So if guilt tells you you did something wrong, shame says you are inherently wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just going to zap your motivation and make it feel like it is an insurmountable obstacle to improve yourself and your relationship. So you want to accept as much responsibility as you can for the situation you're in your marriage, up to the point of developing shame, because you don't want that. But you also don't want to rob your spouse of the opportunity to accept some responsibility as well, because we can only really start to improve a situation if we're willing to admit when we went wrong, if we're willing to take on some of the responsibility and start making a change. The idea of taking on extra personal responsibility from what we would normally do is radical because it does go against our natural tendency, which is to try to place the blame on other people. That can be for a number of reasons. A lot of the times it's really just to protect our own ego or our own sense of self. Because when we have to admit that we went wrong, that means that there is something about us that needs to improve. And that can be really painful. So being able to embrace a little bit of discomfort or even a lot of discomfort in recognizing how you're contributing to the issues in your relationship is going to be a first and major step towards actually making the marriage work.